Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bible reading plan. Today we're in Romans chapter 4, and today Paul, as we've talked about, is talking to the Jewish Christians and the Gentile Christians in the Church of Rome. And the Jewish Christians are saying you have to adhere to the law in order to get to heaven. You have to be circumcised in order to get into heaven. So Paul takes the biggest celebrity of the Jews, Abraham, the father of many nations, the father of Israel, and he says, I'm going to show you Abraham and how he was justified, how he was counted as righteousness, and I want you to compare it to yourself. So where the Jewish Christians are saying you have to be circumcised to be counted as righteous, Paul is showing what circumcision is and when it happens. So in verse 2 he says, for if Abraham was justified by works, this is the works of the law, this is being circumcised under the law, adhering to the law in general. He says, if Abraham was justified by works, by these works of the law, he has something to boast about. So if Abraham is following, we're not talking about the law of Moses quite yet. We're talking about the law that was written on his heart, the commandments of God prior to. If Abraham was justified by his good deeds, by his following of the law of circumcision, then he has something to boast about. He has something to brag about. He can say, yeah, I am righteous. I'm counted as righteous. I'm justified now because I did this, this, and this. And Paul is saying, that's what you're saying, Jewish Christians. You're saying if you're circumcised, if you follow a kosher diet, then you will be justified because of what you did. And he says, no. That cannot be possible because then you have something to boast about. And we know salvation, justification comes only through Jesus Christ and his work. And it's nothing that we can do. So he's saying, Jews, you need to watch out what you're doing here because you're saying you can get to heaven through your own works, and that is scary. And then in verse 11 and 12, Paul is saying Abraham actually was justified through his faith because Abraham said, God, I believe everything you've said you would do, and I believe you can do everything. I believe you will do everything you say you do. I believe you can do anything. His faith, his belief in God was what counted him as righteousness, and circumcision came later. So Abraham was counted as righteousness and then circumcised later, and that circumcision was an outward reflection of an inward belief. And he's saying, hey guys, Jews, if you are following Abraham in this outward tradition, in this outward adherence to the law, without having the inward belief, then you are missing the point. Sure, this outward representation is good only if you follow Abraham in the faith, in the belief. Only if you say, God, I believe everything you say, every promise you make is going to come to pass, and everything you've said you can do, you will do. If you believe that, then sure, this is good. But if you're pushing this on people, then that's not good, because Abraham was justified by this thing, by the faith, by the belief. And I will tell you today, if you have belief that God is who he says he is, he's all powerful, he can do anything that he says he does, the things he says he will do, if you believe that. And then furthermore, if you believe the promise that he makes that you will be justified by faith through Jesus Christ on the cross. And what that looks like is saying, God, if you say that the only way to heaven is through Jesus Christ, that if you say Jesus paid for my sins when he was gashed and he was hung on the cross, then that's the way through heaven, is trusting in that sacrifice, then I will do that. I will believe that you are who you say you are, and that this promise you made to me is true, and I'll have faith in Jesus. That's the way to heaven. And it's not this outward reflection of a belief, it's the belief itself. That's what Paul's trying to get at. And he's saying that's the thing that really matters. In verse 16, I love it. That is why it depends on faith, in order that the promise may rest on grace and be guaranteed to all his offspring. The promise may rest on grace, because he says in here, under the law there's only wrath. The law served to show you your sin and lead you towards faith. And if you're under the law forever, then you're going to be judged by the law, and you're going to be expected to fulfill the law, which we all know none of us can do. So just go out today knowing that if you have faith in God and faith in the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, then God counts you as righteous in the eyes of your Father, who you've been adopted into the family of God. In the eyes of your Father, you are seen now as righteous. Thank you for joining me. I know this is theologically heavy, but you've got to understand this in the Bible. This is the way to salvation, is faith in Jesus. And Paul is laying this out as thoroughly as he can here. But thank you for joining me in Romans chapter 4. I hope to see you tomorrow in Romans 5. Bye.